everyone that's listening and watching from our 6 states that we provide service to you guys. Welcome to our webinar here for financial literacy. I know for some it's going to be your first time, so just be patient. We will be going through a presentation with Maria here shortly. And then after the presentation, you guys can start either sending in your comments or asking questions in the chat. And then I will go through your questions and your comments and I will refer them to Maria. And then we will try to get to everyone as much as we can. But sometimes we do run out of time. If you do have questions, please ask your ETSs and they can send us an email with that question and we can get that answered for you. But now we want to say hello to Maria. Hi, Maria.
Hi, Michelle, Melissa. Sorry.
How are you? It's okay. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Now, we have introduced Maria in the past, and today I would like for Maria to introduce herself to you guys for those that are new to our webinar. Go ahead, Maria.
Thank you. Thank you, Raul and Melissa, for inviting me to do this workshop on Am I Creditworthy? Courtesy of Sarah Jobs for Progress National and Wells Fargo. My name is Maria Sanchez, and I am the director of Project Soy. We are located in Inglewood, California, and our mission is to minimize barriers to employment for job seekers. So, Melissa, thank you again for inviting me to do today's workshop on Am I Creditworthy? We will be discussing credit reports, credit scores, and how to repair and avoid scammers. So today's topic on Am I Creditworthy? As I mentioned, we will be discussing credit scores. How do we develop, what is their purpose and what to look out for in our credit report? And what about credit repair scams and collections? So the first thing in the next slide is we need to understand how credit works to help us avoid costly mistakes in the future. So what does credit do for us? It gives us the ability to borrow money, also known as buy now and pay later. You agree to pay back the money you borrow, but now with added interest. You repay more money than you originally borrowed, and it sometimes can work against us as a double-edged sword if we don't manage it correctly. So what are the benefits of good credit? Lower interest rates on your credit cards and your mortgage, qualify for better options, approval rate for higher limits on your credit scores, on your credit cards, and more negotiating power, especially when you're doing mortgage, refinance, and buying a home. So what is good credit? You establish good credit by making your payments on time, every time. Your credit not only affects your ability to borrow money and make purchases, but also affects other aspects of your life. And Melissa, we're going to address some of those in the next couple of slides. What other areas of our life can credit affect? So how do we maintain good credit? First and foremost, the important thing is to pay our bills on time. To keep our debt to a minimum, not to open too many credit cards, and also to keep our credit utilization low. Using a small amount of credit is very important. So what is the credit score? It's a 3-digit number used to determine how likely you are to repay debt. So the credit scores normally range between 300 to 850. And as you can see on the sample credit score chart, having a 700 or above is considered good, very good, and exceptional. Why are credit scores important? Lenders, bank, financial institutions use your FICO score to determine if they will approve credit. If your score is high, you're considered less of a risk. If your credit is low, lenders may question your ability to repay. So your credit score is very important. So the next couple of slides, we'll talk about how do we manage our credit scores. There's credit score determination. There's 5 credit score factors. 35% of your credit score is determined by your payment history. So it's very important to make our payments on time. 30% is how much credit we owe. How much amount do we have? 15% is on length of credit. New credit carries 10% weight, and then types of different type of credit like mortgage, student loans, and credit cards. The more diversified you are, the better type of credit you have. So what is included on your credit report? Becoming very familiar with a credit report is so important. It's the first step. Your credit report is a document that contains your payment and credit information. So it will have identity information, name, address, social security, date of birth. It might even have previous addresses you've had before, what types of account, credit card, student loans, mortgage, the dates you open those accounts, the credit limits or amounts owed, your credit balances, your payment history, any collections you've had in the past, also public records, any bankruptcies, foreclosures, as well as any inquiries to your credit. Now, it's very important, Melissa, for our viewers to know that when we apply for credit and we consent to it, that inquiry will stay on our credit report for 2 years. So that's how they track how much credit we're applying for. They keep track of it.
I did want to add to that, Maria, even if you're getting a cell phone, Verizon, AT&T, they do hit your credit. And so you will see that inquiry on your credit report.
Absolutely. That's a very good point to make. And it's very common because everybody wants to have a cell phone today. Thank you, Melissa. So the credit report reveals whether you pay your bills on time, what loans and credit cards you have, and how much you owe on them, whether you've been sued, arrested, owed child support, gone through foreclosure, or filed bankruptcy. Now, I want to share this with you that paying your bills is very important. And we're going through a period right now in time where many people are not able to pay their bills, Melissa. COVID-19 has, laid off people. People are at home and they're worried. As I was doing some research, I found out that through my own creditors and mortgage companies, there's forbearance options available. We need to contact our creditors, our credit cards, and ask them to approve us for forbearance on the payments. And they have been very accommodating to me, as well as on my mortgage. They give me a forbearance for 3 months, where they don't ask you for any payment. However, at the end of the 3 months, they will ask you for the full payment, or they will present other options like refinance or loan modification. I will say this, that those 3 months that you were not paying, there's no additional fees added, and they do not report that to the credit bureau as a default on your loan at all. So that's good to know. Thought I'd share that with your viewers since we're going through COVID-19. So who maintains our credit report? The 3 credit reporting agencies are Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. So these 3 companies have to follow FTC, Federal Trade Commission regulations, as far as how they receive information and how they maintain it. But the final responsibility is ours. No one's going to, I wish there was someone to keep track of my credit reports and keep it, current and without mistakes. But I would wanted me to stress that. And I'm stressing that if I want a good credit report, it is up to me to troubleshoot and request it from these agencies. So we're going to talk about how do we request it, because these 3 agencies have an agreement on how we can request our credit report at no cost. So, credit report, how is it used? I was sharing with Melissa and Raul that I've been applying for some SBA jobs. When I did, I found out that they're asking for my credit report. They want to know that if they send me to training, that I can qualify for a credit card with that company to use in my business travel. So they need access to my credit report. So for the participants in CSEP, this is very important because right now the federal government is looking for many people on a temporary part-time basis or temporary full-time basis. And a lot of you have a lot of experience in finance. They're looking for loan officers, finance, they're looking for nurses, information management. Those of you that have worked in these fields, and there's many fields, warehouse, um, know that your credit report might be pulled as a condition of employment. Also, credit report, finance rates for buying a home. Today, the interest rates are at its lowest. But at the same time, if our credit report is not current, it can affect the negotiating power, influencing a better rate. Also, credit reports are used when we rent or lease an apartment. So it seems like credit reports are used more than just to open a line of credit. So how do you get a copy of your credit report? You're entitled to one free copy of your credit report every 12 months from each of these three nationwide credit reporting companies. However, it's very important to know this, that in order to order a copy of your credit report from the three credit companies, they set up a centralized website to request all three reports. And the centralized website would be the annualcreditreport.com. You can either go online, call them, or complete a request and mail it to the annual credit report request service. You will be required to submit information pertaining to your identity, like your name, address, social security uh, number, and date of birth. So, key in this slide to remember is they've consolidated the requests under one website, annualcreditreport.com. Okay, of course, you're still at liberty to ask each of these credit bureaus for your report, but why ask each one when you can consolidate the report with one request? Now, this is the interesting part. When we're reviewing free credit reports, let's stay with the legitimate companies. TransUnion, Equifax, Experian are the actual legitimate companies. Credit Karma, I think Sesame Credit are all websites that lure you in under the impression that you're going to get a free credit report and free monitoring. However, there's strings attached. What they tend to do is market your information to credit card companies, to loan companies. And when you apply, because they'll send you enticing messages on your email, they'll say, you're approved. Your eligibility will not be reported to the credit bureau since we'll do a soft credit inquiry and you will be eligible for $500 increase. Yes, that's good. And you probably will because they're going to get paid for you to apply for that credit card. But if you remember, Melissa, a couple of slides back, we said that 10% uh, when credit, when you apply for credit, it impacts your total credit score up to 10%. Well, you get dinged twice. One, you can increase your credit limit because now you have $500 available, but you ding the length of your credit history. And that carries a lot of weight on your total credit score. So please be aware of imposter sites who are trying to sell you what you can actually get on your own by updating your credit report, pulling your credit report from credible credit companies that are governed by the FTC, Federal Trade Commission. So, scam alerts. Annualcreditreport.com is the nationwide credit link for Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Keep in mind that these three agencies will never send you an email link to ask you for your personal information or will call you. You initiate the process, you request your credit report, you contact them to report any discrepancies, and we'll get on the topic of discrepancies in the next slides. But for right now, please avoid any email pop-ups, phone calls that are randomly sent to you, because some of these companies will drop a letter on the link and will give you the impression that you're on the right site, but you're not. You're in an imposter site or a scammer, or even a link that will sell your information. I mean, they'll still give you your credit report, but they're going to sell your information. So how do you dispute errors on your credit report? Now we know how credit reports are used in every area of our lives: to rent an apartment, to apply for a job, to get a credit card or a mortgage. So it's very important. One of the things in disputing is you need to notify the credit bureau in writing about the information you think is inaccurate. So a good way is print out the part of your credit report that is inaccurate, highlight it, prepare a dispute letter, which you can get a copy or sample from ftc.gov, which is the Federal Trade Commission site. Highlight it, certify mail to all three credit bureaus, because they do not communicate with each other. So you will be required to notify each one individually. The reason you want a certified return receipt is because you want proof. There's a period that is required for them to dispute it or to investigate the inaccuracy. One of the things that I want to share with everybody is those consumers that are homeowners like us. When you apply for a home line of credit, one of the discrepancies that I've seen in our credit report is the credit bureaus or the mortgage company will report it as a credit card. Well, when we as homeowners apply for a home line of equity, we're actually using it to remodel our home, right? Put a new bathroom, a roof, and we might max it out. So can you imagine the effect on your credit score when you max out your home line of equity and it's interpreted as a credit card? Your utilization rate just went off the charts. So, word to the wise, when you apply for a home line equity, you need to look at your credit report to make sure that it is listed as an installment, similar to your student loan, that it's an installment loan, so that the creditors or the financial institutions do not misinterpret it as a credit card. And so that's a very important one. So the credit bureaus will investigate the items that you question and they will take up to 30 days. Unless they determine that your dispute is frivolous, they will keep the same information on your credit report. The credit bureaus forward all relevant information about the error to the businesses that reported the information. Once the businesses are notified, they will investigate, review the information, and report the results to the credit bureau. So just because this process took place, it does not mean that we should just relax and not continue to investigate. So once this process takes place, it's very important to request a revised credit report. which you're able to do when you are unemployed, okay, when you have disputed a claim on your credit report, and you won't have to wait for 12 months to pass to get that free report. So remember, review your credit report regularly or at least once a year and take immediate action to correct any errors and mistakes, because credit affects all areas of your life. In the next slide, we will be discussing other things that could affect your credit. And so one of the things that consumers need to remember, keep in mind, is that we don't have to endure the consequences of poor credit line. A lot of students going to college end up with a student loan, and then they get overwhelmed because the first job they get is not enough to live off of that income and then pay their student loans, right? So, and then they go on forbearance, and they complicate because now they add interest and compounded interest over a period of time. It becomes a huge amount that is owed. So it's very important to pay bills on time. Paying debt is, especially in credit cards, because the credit cards utilization rate, as I mentioned earlier in the previous slides, carries, I believe, 30% of your credit score. So making sure you don't take on additional debt when you have poor credit, you want to reestablish your credit, can take up to 2 years if you consistently be making, repayment on a consistent basis. And talk to your creditors. As I mentioned, they're willing to approve forbearance. So know if you are dealing with a credit repair scam. If there's many websites, as I was researching, there was many websites, they promise to remove all the bad credit from your credit report, and some of the promises they make are not deliverable. When they promise you to give you a new identity, Melissa, when have you heard that a company can give you a new social security number? Well, that's tempting, and many seniors might be interested, and as well as the young people, if they've made poor decisions. But no, I think the only agency that can issue a new social security number is the actual Social Security Administration. So be cautious of these type of gimmicks. They also, another scam is they want you to pay in advance for their services. That should be a red flag. And can they deliver? Why do they want $300? And some of them will charge you up to $1,000 in 3 installment payments for their work. Avoid explaining your legal rights. They might tell you not to contact the credit bureaus while they're doing the disputing the debt, or they might dispute inaccurate information on your credit report. They promise to remove negative information, but if you know you owe the debt, you have to work and can challenge some of these creditors or work with them directly. You really don't need, the main thing is you really don't need a credit repair company to come in and speak on your behalf. If you know you owe the debt, the best thing is contact the company, try to settle at a lower rate, which they're willing to get some of that money back. However, be aware that when they report it to the credit bureau, they will report it as settled at less the amount due. And that might also be viewed as a negative for financial institutions. In addition, it's payday loans. We tend to, I was doing some research and found out that Pew Charitable Trust Company posted that 12 million Americans take on cash advances just to make their monthly payments. That's a lot of people, 12 million Americans. And today, I think those numbers will be even higher. The only requirements, no credit score. That's what makes it tempting. It's a quick fix, but in actuality, it's a little trap. And I'm going to share with you why. Um, all they want to know, do you have an income? That includes retirement, Social Security. If you can prove you're having a monthly income and you have a checking account, that's all you need to qualify. They will get their money debited from your account. So what many people do is they're afraid or they're embarrassed to ask, their cousin, their mom, their dads for an advance or for a loan. So they go to these payday advance companies and they pull out a loan, let's say for $300, right? Over the course of the loan, they have to pay the $55 on top of what they borrowed, right? Well, they find themselves in this cycle where it takes them an average, most Americans, 5 months to finally pay off that debt because they recycle it, they realize they can't pay it. And in actuality, it takes an infusion of income, like your income tax, or someone gives you some type of a money that actually settles that type of a debt. Many Americans find that they end up keeping the debt for 5 months. Why? Because they're paying at higher interest rates. They are legitimate. Um, they will they have direct access to the account, so they don't have to check your credit report, so people get drawn to them. But we need to be careful that at the end you don't get into a cycle of debt. If you can't pay on time and must renew the loan or roll it over to a new loan, or ask your family for the loan, but stay away from payday or predatory lending. They get their money plus 500 or an average of 2 to 3 times more than what you actually borrow from you. So the next screen, we will share information with the CSAP seniors about Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. This is governed under the FTC, Federal Trade Commission. Creditors also have to follow certain guidelines. They cannot contact you until after 8 a.m. or before 9 p.m. They may not contact you at work if they know that your employer disapproves. They may not harass, oppress, or abuse you, or intimidate you, tell you falsely that they can send you to jail, because they cannot. They must identify themselves to you over the phone. And if you wish them to stop, it is your right for you to submit something in writing, and they have to honor that. Now, just because you inform them of your rights of not being harassed at work or at home, that does not protect you from them pursuing, civil case uh, in an attempt to pull their money. They can. I will tell you that Capital One, several years ago, I was unemployed because I had a workers' comp case, and it slipped my mind. During trying to keep the bills going, it slipped my mind about Capital One. Well, when I started requesting my credit report, Capital One took me to court, and I lived in a different address, so I never received the document. The next thing I know, I'm refinancing my home, and there's a lien on my property for $1,150. I was like, who do I owe $1,150? It was Capital One. So, yes, They did not put me in jail, right? But they did pursue other means that they're able to pursue to regain their money, and it's covered under the Fair Debt Collection Practice Act. So remember, you don't have to be the target of abusive, rude, nasty collectors. There, you also have rights. So know your rights, and they're listed under the Federal Trade Commission. If you go under their website, ftc.gov, creditors cannot harass you. And if they do, you have a right. You can report them, and many of them have been taken to court by the FTC and fined for illegal practices. So consumers also have rights, not just the credit companies. And so knowing that that you can use this website, the Federal Trade Commission website, to access sample letters on how to dispute credit inaccuracies. What are the protocols when creditors are harassing you for their money? They cannot go after individuals by threatening to go to send them to jail for the debt. I think they tend to intimidate seniors because they're easier target. They're mostly at home. So there's also new FTC regulations on scammers with regards to calling. And there's a name for that, Melissa, when they call you randomly. And so there's, the FTC is trying to make sure that, the creditors do their job, but do it professionally. And at the end of the day, we now know that credit reports cover more than just a credit card. It covers all the aspects of our life, if we want to rent, want to lease, if we want to apply for a job. So it behooves us to really be on top of our credit report.
Thank you for that presentation, Maria. There are so many things that I myself have experienced as a college student all the way to now that I didn't know before because, culturally, my parents didn't really have credit growing up. They were more of a payment plans type of people. And they knew about credit, but they didn't know what we all know now about how to build your credit from a young age. What is good, what is bad, what you should keep up with, and more importantly, for you to look at your credit report every year. I didn't know that you were supposed to do that, and it wasn't until I was trying to buy a house that became important, and I was like, wait a minute, all these things are on my credit report. And then that's when I took action to clean that up. And one of the things that I did want to mention while you were discussing disputing credit cards or loans or anything like that is that if you are disputing something, make sure that you check back in 30 days, like Maria said. I know sometimes we get busy and we're like, oh, we sent that off. We received a letter saying that it was resolved, but unless we check back with those creditors, it doesn't really come off your credit reports. So just, make that a priority that if you received a letter that issue was resolved, that you look at your credit report again so that you can see if that actually came off or not. Because sometimes you may have received that resolution, but that creditor may take some time to take it off your credit report. So I did want to talk to our audience about the importance of doing that. Can you tell them anything else about, being persistent about these disputes?
I think one of the important suggestions that I make is develop a binder and keep track of all the correspondence, because that 30-day window is very important. When you file your document, your dispute letter with the highlighted report, track the response. And if in 30 days they have not responded, the credit bureaus need to remove that from your credit report. So it's very good to have, sent the document, the dispute letter certified, set up a file system, talk to your creditors. Um, Creditors are willing to work with you. Again, they'll send you settlement letters. Try that approach first and try to negotiate. If you pay the full amount in 3 installment payments, will they show as settled? Because the more settled accounts you have, even if they've gone in dispute, in default, it redeems you with financial institutions. So keeping track of your correspondence, requesting follow-up credit reports to make sure that the information either got received and it was updated, and know your rights, because there's many businesses that will act unprofessional and might have been reported to the FTC. And you might be able to check the website with the FTC and find that you need to file a report against them as well.
Thank you, Maria. We're going to start going through all the questions and your comments that have been coming in through the chat. So here we have a question from somebody that says, if I use PayPal credit and make all payments on time along with paying the total amount by the final due date, does this help to improve or factor positively into my credit score?
The part of, I'm not familiar with PayPal. This is why I'm not sure how that works. I know a lot of the young people, and more we're seeing people transition into that method of payment. But I know that just the fact that they're paying on time, that payment history carries 35% of your credit score. So not missing a payment will weigh in within 2 years and boost your credit score. So even though you had a bad score, in 2 years, if you're consistently paying and not paying up, don't pay off the whole payment, because that's what we tend to do. We get an infusion of money, we get our income tax, or we get the stimulus, and we want to pay the whole balance. Don't do it. Not if you're not in default. If it's not in default and you owe $2,000 on your credit card, pay a little bit more. Don't pay just the minimum. Pay, a little, double the amount, but pay it consistently, because in 2 years, you'll see that credit history bump up your score.
And Maria, to answer this person, I'm trying to find their name here, James. So for James, I do want to tell you that I use PayPal credit, and I do pay on a monthly basis, and it does improve your credit score. So if you want to use that as a line of credit versus a credit card, it still comes up on your credit report as an open account. And so, like Maria mentioned, as long as you're making those payments on a timely basis, it should impact your credit score positively. Now, let's see what other question we have here. Does the 3-month forbearance include utility bills?
That varies from, I'm in Los Angeles County, but I noticed that my phone company and my electric company in California, they're on the website promoting, financial assistance. So I would strongly encourage everybody right now during this period of COVID-19 to be proactive, not to be scared, because that's like dominates our stress. And no, be proactive. Contact your utilities and let them know that right now you're having some financial challenges, and if they can work with you. And I'm telling you, AT&T has been working with many of my referrals who cannot pay their phone bill. They're being given them opportunity to split the bill, to extend their payment. They're doing a lot of great things. And so in response to that question, I would think so, but I would refer them to the county that they're in, and I would encourage them to contact their utilities, because I want you to know that payment on your utilities also carries a factor on your credit score.
That is very true. Again, personal experience. I lived in an apartment once, and the electricity bill that had been with that apartment, I thought I had paid it off when I left, but there was a leftover balance that, excuse me, because I moved, I didn't know about. And then next thing you know, it pops up on collections on my credit report. And so, yes, utilities do make an impact on your credit report. I had to take care of that and it came off, but they do pop up on your collections portion of your credit report. So it does impact you. Let's see, we have another question here. I get credit card applications in the mail. I never asked for the credit cards. I then see inquiries on my credit report. Why is this happening?
Okay, very important. When companies are accessing your credit report, chances are you might already have a credit established with that company and they're boosting your credit limit. So you need to freeze your credit account with the credit bureaus. That's what I did. I have a credit card and I noticed that they bumped it up, but I never applied for it. So they bumped up the credit limit, and then I noticed the inquiry on my credit report. And so what I did is I went to my credit bureaus and I froze them, because you can freeze them and then you can reopen them when you want to apply for credit again. So that can happen. Also, when you get correspondence from different banks, shred them, because that's a good way for people to get hold of your credit information, your personal information, and we want to avoid identity fraud. So yes, credit companies can access your account and for different reasons. I mentioned to you, I think, at our last presentation that our credit, my mortgage company, they did a hard inquiry, and a hard inquiry on my credit report or on anybody's credit report will last 2 years. So I was not happy with that. So I'm disputing that because I did not give them consent.
Thank you, Maria. Now, somebody had a question or a comment about cell phones. Going back to the cell phone issue, it's best to get a prepaid phone so you do not acquire an inquiry. For cell phone companies, they do not report payment history, but they do report if you are late. So why would you get a contracted phone versus a prepaid phone? Can you give us any information on that?
I just personal just personal information. I think that today, especially for seniors, there's so many free cell phones, unless you're using them for, Facebook, for FaceTime and all these additional gimmicks. Just a regular phone, they're free. I think that they refer to them as Obama phones. But in today's industry, most companies like AT&T, Spectrum, you can get access to service without being on a contract. So you don't really need to have a contract in today's competitive market. And if you just pay for a prepaid, you're going to pay higher rates because you're actually paying for the hours or the minutes on your phone. So yes, if you want it disposable and it meets your need just to call whenever you don't have many people calling you, then you can use a disposable. But then why buy a disposable when you can have an Obama phone or free phone, free government phone? But if you do decide to go with a big company or another carrier, know that you don't have to enter into a contract. It's so competitive now that you don't need to enter into a contract.
Thank you, Maria. Let's see if we can get it down to the next question. What about using the dispute option within the credit bureaus themselves? Is this a good option, or sending in the certified letter? I see, or I heard Maria talk about the certified letter option. I myself have used the dispute online. That worked for me. I don't know which one is faster, or if there's, the same time that it takes to resolve the dispute, but I have used the online dispute within Experian or TransUnion. Maria, can you tell us if there's a difference between the two?
Well, they confirm receipt of your information quicker, but the dispute process remains 30 days. They still have to investigate. So that's an option. It's an option to go online and dispute it. I've disputed online. Um, but there's, in our seniors population, we like to see hard copies and organized. So, which is why I suggested a binder and then track the um, the the activities and the steps you've taken. It just gives you more grounded proof if you're right to challenge them to change the inaccurate information from your report. But yes, you can go ahead and do it online. I don't see the difference. One is just more consuming, but the bottom line is both will take 30 days to dispute, to investigate.
Thank you, Maria. Now, here is another question. When you pay debt off for a credit card, when you do not use the card in a year or two, they turn the credit card off. Does this affect your credit rating or being able to get loans in the future?
Could you repeat for me? I'm sorry.
So this person is saying if you pay off a credit card, but you don't close it, it remains open. Within a year or two, they will close the card if it's not being used. Does this affect your credit rating or being able to get loans in the future?
It all depends what your credit score is and how you maintain it up until that point. It normally, what I would encourage everybody, if you're not going to use your credit cards, it can have a negative effect on your credit score and your credit report when they close an account because it'll show as closed. But it'll also show closed without a balance. And what I would encourage is that every 6 months or so, use it to buy gas and then don't use it, just pay it so that it keeps it current and they won't close it. But if they don't see any activity, they will close it. And because of where you were at that point, it could generate a negative effect on your report because it will show as account closed.
Thank you, Maria. Let's see. This is a question, and I'm not sure if this is Kansas or Missouri, but why do I have to take credit when I only want to make 3 payments or less to purchase a bedroom set or other items for my home?
You should not apply for credit if you have cash. Best solution is buy, pay in cash. You do not need credit. Credit is a financial institution way of keeping Americans in debt. So if you have the money, pay it in full and walk away. Yeah, no, you do not need credit. You can apply, you can pay the balance and walk away, excuse me, with your furniture or even a car for that matter. It's best to pay.
I agree. Here we have another question on, and this is a good question. If you're making minimum payments, is that good?
Yes, it's good. The only thing, it's going to take you a longer period of time to pay off the debt. And with longer period of time, you're going to end up paying more interest over a longer period of time. But the fact that you're making on time your minimum payment, it's still showing history. And that history is consistent, then it's going to be, it's not going to be viewed as a negative. It's just that they're going to compound interest for the longer period of time, longer period that takes you to pay off the balance. They're going to make their money.
Yes. Let's see. We have another question here that says, why do stores ask for you to provide them a credit card or bank card when getting a new credit card? I'm assuming this is when you're applying for a credit card at a store.
They want to see your credit worthiness, like the topic of today's presentation. Am I credit worthy? So they want to see what type of large credit cards you might have already been approved. Let's say you have a credit card from, a Sears credit card or a Southwest Airlines credit card. They've already done their due diligence to establish your credit worthiness. So now you go to TJ Maxx, they feel comfortable giving you that credit card based on the the pattern or the credit worthiness. So that's how smaller companies tend to follow their protocols.
Thank you, Maria. Let's see. Well, this is a question I think that you had covered in this webinar and the last one when you talked about your mortgage company. Can a collector put a lien on a bank account?
It depends on who the collector is and what type of debt. Um, if it's child support, absolutely. They can definitely do that. If it's IRS or back taxes, yes, they definitely will do that. For a credit card, no, they cannot. And it's covered under FTC. It falls under, when creditors call and um, are kind of bullying and intimidating, and they'll say, I'm going to take your accounts. I'm going to send you to jail. They can't not do that. Ethically, they're not supposed to even say that. And so FTC, Federal Trade Commission, regulates. And if someone's doing that to a senior or any person, then they should file a complaint, because chances are they're doing that to other people as well.
Maria, here is a good comment/question that somebody sent in, because I'm sure a lot of us that, had great credit and, for one reason or another, plummeted, and they're trying to build our credit again. This person is saying, how long does a hard inquiry last on my credit report? I've been building on a 400 credit score. I am now at 618. Congratulations, by the way. Any pointers on how to build quicker, or does it only go up every quarter?
That's a good question. It seems to go up not just on a quarterly basis, but I think each one has a different cycle. Each credit bureau, like every 30 days or so. And it's based on, by the way, you're doing a great job building that credit score. They're looking at, remember, two of the major factors will be credit utilization and credit payment history. So if you're not using your credit, then that's what financial institutions or the credit bureaus will look at, your credit worthiness. That means that now this is the amount of credit you have available. And then the payment history is 35%. So are you paying regularly? You definitely want to pay a little bit more so you can ding the debt, show that you're chipping at the debt little by little. So you want to pay a little bit more than the minimum, but be consistent. That's going to work in their favor more, to be consistent. And then a hard inquiry will last 2 years. So a hard inquiry on their credit report, that's what they want to avoid. Avoid it opening up any type of credit, because a lot of the scam websites like karma.com, they have some good features, but what happens is they will entice you to open another credit card so that you can boost up your credit limit. But now you affected your credit history. So you can't do one without the other. So you open a new credit card, now you drop your credit history, because now you have a new card that now it's going to be, carrying weight on your credit score. So continue what you're doing, continue paying consistently, and reduce your utilization rate, and you're going to see your credit score. Realistically, can take up to 2 years, and it looks like you've been working on it for a while. So look at it after 2 years, and you'll see the credit score increase.
Thank you, Maria. We are coming here close to an end. We want to thank everyone that's been watching us or listening to us. I know some of you guys are calling in and haven't been able to put in your question or your comment in the chat area. Maria, this is a very engaging audience. They have a lot of questions that we are not going to be able to get to, but hopefully we will get these questions and send them to you. That way you can help us answer some of these for our audience. Maria, thank you so much again for taking the time to help our participants, help our audience to better their financial literacy and, in this case, their credit worthiness.